Trade policy as a topic has gotten a lot more attention recently because for decades, business leaders assumed that trade would become freer and freer and that trade would only grow as a percentage of world GDP. And recently, we've seen those assumptions be eroded. Trade is now growing more slowly than is world GDP in the last couple of years. And also, there are indications that trade may become less free in some key markets. The UK has voted for Brexit and needs to renegotiate its trade terms with Europe and other trading partners. And the US is now in discussions with Canada and Mexico to renegotiate NAFTA, and more recently has been in discussions with China about some potential tariffs that each country wants to put up against the other's imports. We've been having discussions with and doing work with several of our clients on this issue of trade, and it runs a range from informing the public policy debate on one end of the spectrum by adding some facts to the discussion. For example, how many jobs in their industry are actually created by free trade, to in the middle, really working with some clients on some plausible scenarios of what may come to pass and quantifying the impact on, say, their cost structures. And then at the other extreme end of the spectrum, actually going so far as to develop some plans that those clients can implement should these potential barriers to trade actually be enacted, and in some cases, actually taking action before that happens. More broadly, though, if we step back and think about which types of companies are more likely to be impacted than are others, it's really a function of two things. One, just purely how exposed are their supply chains to that particular trade lanes that are likely to be disputed. So are they reliant upon imports from China or exporting to China? Are they reliant upon trade within the NAFTA zone? And this isn't specific to just US companies because, of course, if we look at the automotive industry, there are automotive manufacturers based all over the world who rely upon free trade within the NAFTA zone. The second would be how susceptible are those companies to being targeted for issues around preservation of jobs or for contributing to a trade deficit. And for those reasons, for example, you've seen a lot of discussion around the automotive industry because it accounts for a large portion of the US trade deficit within the NAFTA region at least. The plan of action that any company should take is a custom process, and it really is a function of that company's own needs and situation. But nearly every company that could be impacted should go through a three-step approach that we've talked to them about. The first is to understand the potential scenarios. We can't be certain about the future, but we can be reasonably certain about what is likely or unlikely to come to pass. The second is to actually quantify the impact of those different potential scenarios on the company, but not only on the company's P&L itself, which is where many stop short, but also on their suppliers or on their customers, and in addition to their competitors. Some companies may find that while they're negatively impacted by a potential trade policy shift, they may be less negatively impacted than would be their competitors, and that should inform their actions. And then finally, in that third phase, we would know, given the quantified impact, what some potential moves are that they could make, and make decisions around whether those moves would be proactive, ones that they could do now while the outcome is uncertain, or more reactive, ones that they would be able to execute quickly once the trade policy environment is better understood.